very good morning to you. Welcome to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. We're broadcasting live from the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. And I'm Jeffrey Uzong. It's great to be back.
Yes, indeed.
On the show, Bukola.
It's great to have you back, Jeffrey. It's a cool and calm Wednesday morning. Welcome to your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka.
A lot has been happening, Bukola, in the polity from across the weekend to what has played out in the last 24 hours and all of that. I'm sure a lot of you have seen that video as well, which is, we deliberately want to show you what really ensues about about 5 or 6 minutes video of what played out between the Honorable Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, and a soldier, a naval officer, over issues around development of a land and all of that. So the context is the fact that the argument from the minister is that, let me just use a simple word, due process has not been followed in paperwork and all of that to verify the former naval officer's claim to that land and all of that. So I'm trying to paraphrase, they will do the talking themselves. Well, maybe he showed up to do the enforcement himself because he said his people were hindered from doing their work, but these soldiers were deployed to protect the land. Now, it marked a very despicable and distinguished moment all in one. But let's show you that video that you're seeing on your screen, and we'll be right back to make comments.
So let me say, I request to enlighten you, so there's no such thing as a former vice president. Vice admiral is vice admiral.
Sorry, sir. I'm sorry.
Show me the document you have. You have no document.
Documents.
Bring the document.
I have documents and everything has been submitted.
Excuse me, I'm the minister. Yes, you cannot tell me. You cannot tell me that. We cannot continue to add in this impurity. Where the approval even to you. You cannot continue this way. This country cannot continue along this line. How can that man at his level, even if he has a problem, he cannot reach me and say, look, I'm sorry, see what I have. You will send soldiers to intimidate who? We are all from this country. And this is government. You cannot be higher than any government. You cannot be carrying drugs to intimidate people to not to do their work. Let me tell you, if not God, you was first staff who spoke to me now, you could have killed everybody here. No problem. I'm not one of those that they can intimidate.
On the contrary,
I'm doing my job.
We are not intimidating anybody.
That's what you're doing.
The civilian, the engineer mobilized to site, and then staff or workers of SED look at to intimidate them.
No, listen now. That is the
threatening them. And that was when the admiral gave the order.
He cannot give order against government.
Because the papers are complete and he said
Are you the one? Listen, you know the problem you have. Are you the one that will say, paper? What will show me that you are what? First of all, show me that government gave you this place. Two, show me that you have an approval to build what you are building. It has nothing to do with I'm a vice admiral, I'm a lieutenant general. That is not it. We must work according to law. We must work according to law. So you? No, you don't tell like this. Don't tell like this. Don't you try it. Don't try it. Don't try it. Don't tell me this. Don't try it. Don't tell me I'm lying.
I am a small boy, but the commission of money has never had Just to come and defend.
Stop this here. Stop this.
How do I person? How do I person? This is not professional. This is not professional. Please. You can't be pressing the minister with this thing. It's okay. What can you say? We have seen it's okay. It's okay. From demolition is not bad.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Order matters. I'm an officer. Take to orders.
So what? You had a who? Damn me.
So I'm an officer. Take to orders.
To order that you take the camera.
Mr. General.
Okay.
You
can never develop this property. I will not allow it.
No problem, sir.
I'm
only acting on my orders.
If you want to kill everybody, kill everybody.
We will not kill
you. You cannot.
We will not. We will not kill anybody, sir.
You put yourself in trouble.
We will not. My friend, you see the evidence that what is that? You cannot shut me up. No, you cannot shut me up. You are my senior. You cannot even talk when I'm talking.
I have to reach you.
Why is that you will? I've been talking and finish me with talking.
Because you're an officer. Nobody does that.
We did not carry anybody.
The man took this. I will not allow because he was chief of numbers. And then for you to carry land.
Sir, everything was acquired legally.
Will you stop that? Will you stop that?
I'm an officer. I have integrity.
Shut up, your man. Go to
sir. Not shut up.
Will you get out?
Sir, I won't shut up. Sir, I
was in school. You're not in school.
Sir, you can't shut
me up. Will you keep quiet?
You can't shut me up.
Fool.
I'm not a big fool. I'm not a fool,
You can shoot anybody like that?
Sir, I'm not a fool. I am not a fool, sir.
As at the time I graduated, you were in primary school.
I'm acting on orders.
Which order? You see whatever you learn this year.
Sir, you can't call me a fool. I'm an officer. I'm not a fool, sir.
You will have killed everybody here.
No, we won't kill anybody. We won't kill anybody. We are acting on orders.
Go and develop here. Let me see you.
Regular officer, you want to come and talk?
We are going to get out.
So you just saw.
Because I had to allow, we had to allow the full video to play so that people understand how things move from 1 to 100. What do you make of it?
Well, Jeffrey, one of the first few things that came to my mind, I saw it for the first time yesterday at about 1 p.m. So, one of the first few things that came to my mind was systems and structures. How effective are our systems and structures? Who are those in institutions that are supposed to uphold the integrity of our systems and our structures? And are they upholding the integrity of our systems and our structures? The civil servants that are at work, that have been stationed at critical positions, are they doing well to impose our systems and our structures? Does our system, encourage the emperor mentality to thrive? Does our system uphold the law and order, and does it nurture a just system rather than an unjust system? Those are the critical questions to ask at this time, because many have gone to town with this video and they put very different context, very predictable meanings to it. The Honorable Minister met his match this time around, because he's been on a land takeover spree in the Federal Capital Territory. Yes, indeed, he has a mandate to implement the Abuja Master Plan. But is there justice in the implementation of the Abuja Master Plan? Just weeks ago, or was it 2 months ago, we had cause to interview the entrepreneurs who had been working the green space that was demolished over the past 13 years, according to what they quoted to us. And indeed, the Federal Capital Development Authority did approach them to renew their papers, and indeed they renewed their papers. And amid all of that, they secured a court order preventing any form of action against their space, their green space that they had developed over 13 years. But apparently that court order was not adhered to. So if that is the kind of system that we run, then indeed the Honorable Minister will meet similar event, and not just this one. It could be many others where somebody that can stand up to the Honorable Minister, stand up to the approach to doing things by the Federal Capital Development Authority, and challenge it. Indeed, we played it for context, and I saw one, FCDA official saying that indeed you didn't present any papers, and the young officer there was saying that we presented papers, and there was a back and forth about whether they lied or not. Well, that is a gray area that needs to be brought to light with perhaps presentation of documents, if indeed this former Chief of Naval Staff has documents. But because we nurture a system that is unjust, that does not uphold justice, that does not protect the weak, then indeed there would be many more former chiefs of defense staff, former chiefs of naval staff that have possession of a land, either they have documents or not, that would be able to stand up to the Honorable Minister and say that indeed you cannot demolish this particular structure. But I remember those who owned the green space prior to the reallocation to another developer at this point in time. Who protects them in this kind of system that we're nurturing? We must, be weary of a system that that encourages, politics of strong man, as we always say in these parts, that does not protect the weak, that does not encourage entrepreneurship because of a land use policy that encourages, the executives to take over land indiscriminately. There are many other structures under the Abuja Master Plan that are in the right of way, but because it is the elites that are occupying these structures, then the Federal Capital Development Authority cannot take over those structures. And that is what is, unsettling amid all of this. It is beyond, a young officer named by the name Yerima who is able to stand up to the FCT minister. It's a system that nurtures a politics of godfatherism that enables conflicts to go on between political godfather and political godson for a period of 1 year, and we do not know what exactly is the nature of the politics of the fallout between them. And a system is held to ransom. People who democratically elected a governor is held to ransom for over a year. When we continue to have that kind of system, we'll continue to nurture emperor-like politicians who believe that they are gods, and then they can, run things, run the show as they want to. And that is what is unsettling about this particular, incident from the last 24 hours.
I describe what has played out as moment of despicable moments and distinguished moments. So let me start with the military. According to the Honorable Minister, approvals have not been gotten. He's asking for those papers to have been gotten, else they will not develop. Perhaps these people went there to do their work, and they were prevented because of the security presence of the military guys who were there, of course, on the orders of the former naval chief. Well, at the end of the day, the minister had to show up, which was a big mistake. First and foremost, coming there as an enforcer of the law, it's a total big mistake. So on one hand, we must condemn the incidents of resorting to self-help, because that's what the naval chief would have done, given the trail of events since Nyesom Wike became minister. Now that in itself has to be probed. This whole revocation, all of these land issues, the allegations of him taking land not for public good, but for the interest of his cronies and all of that, that's a different matter altogether. Perhaps this naval chief haven't seen what has been playing out in the FCT. Whether he has the papers, he doesn't have the papers, has insisted that what he has, he will use, which is power. And he has used power. Now, resorting to self-help is not acceptable. Our military men have better use than to be used to block property, prevent authority from doing whatever it is their work is. So that is totally condemnable. But you can't also blame him, as I said, due to the trail of events. On the other part is the fact that the honorable minister needs to conduct himself well in public. We must say that as clear as possible. Now, if you heard that the naval boss or former naval boss has sent his boys to the scene and they are preventing your people to do their work, what do you think you will do exactly to make those boys obey you? Except you don't understand our military hierarchy and framework. They will not listen to you. You're not the commander-in-chief. There are only two sets of people they will listen to. Either their direct boss or the commander-in-chief, which is the president. Not you. You're just a civilian, a sackable civilian, with the greatest sense of respect to all you have done, Honorable Minister. Why? And I'm almost blaming his security detail for not extracting him out of that place, for even allowing him to come. But knowing he knew some wicked, the Honorable Minister, perhaps they would have advised him. He would have maybe told them, no, he's not a coward and all of that, like he's telling the military officer. The minister had no business having a conversation with this officer in the first place. He's the honorable minister of the FCT. There are channels he would have used, and those boys, those military officers will leave that place. He will not even show up in the first place. But perhaps because of his nature, force, and all of that, he wants to. Now look at the embarrassing situation. And you cannot, honorable minister, there's a way to conduct yourself in public. You can't be calling people shut up and stupid. No, that's what he said, foolish. Foolish. That is an officer of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Whether he came there on a legal or an illegal,
and
whatever.
Whether he's 20 years younger or not, he should not be. That's foolish.
He's an adult. He's an officer. He's lucky that this officer has conduct. He's behaved himself. In spite of all the provocation, this gentleman behaved himself. Now, if you understand how military works, watch the guy. He stood his ground. He did not move. He was calming his boys down because they were already getting angry. These people are trained to kill. That is their training. And you want to come and be a civilian adversary in their front? Are you joking? So on this particular one, as much as it is the honorable minister's job to do his work and not be prevented by any military or whatever presence, it was a bad move to even show up in the first place. You had no business being there. It's big man to big man. There's a CDS, there's a president. There are so many chains of command that will make those gentlemen leave that place without even you showing up. Now, exchanging words with the military officer is very despicable. Calling him foolish. That is an army officer. It's not even a child. So there are many, I feel that the honorable minister should apologize to the military, to that young man, for what he did. That is a different matter altogether. So it was very uncouth. The reason why honorable comes before the name minister is because of the office. Every minister is called honorable. Every member of the assembly, everybody. The president is not called Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Call him President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because the office is more important than the person. So I just feel bad that he had to put himself in this is the second time I'm seeing the honorable minister. There was another video I saw the honorable minister almost physically engaging on this land matter. As a matter of fact, in that video, you could see him, hitting someone, standing right in front of him. I think a member of his security detail. There's one overzealous, uninformed, I don't know whether it's a police officer or whatever the security detail is. Did you notice that the DSS guys, who understand what was going on. All they did was to surround the perimeter. They did not move. They just surround, because you see the DSS. I don't know who that policeman. I don't know whether it's a policeman or what.
You know, and on both sides of the altercation, they were bearing arms.
Yes.
So anything could have turned or right.
It would have turned bloodshed.
Absolutely.
That's why I say it was a mistake for the minister to even show up in the first place.
Absolutely.
First, minister, it was wrong for you to show up. It is unacceptable for you to use an uncouth word on an officer, an adult. If you see those military officers, they have formed a mental perimeter. You better not cross that perimeter. Whether they are right or wrong, at this volatile moment is wisdom. I'm a student of scripture. God works by two ways, wisdom and power. God could know that there are armed robbers on the way. He will say, go, because he will deliver you. The same God can tell you, don't go, because he wants to prevent danger. At this point, this minister would have avoided this scenario and stopped this embarrassment.
Well, Jeffrey, if you have a piece of land somewhere and you don't have someone you have to call, then you'll be at the mercy of the structure and system that we're building.
Banks are beginning to be weary of taking landed property as collateral in Abuja because of these revocations and all of that.
Well,
anyway.
and it's not an issue if you have to implement the Abuja master plan, but is there equity? That's what we're asking the Honorable Minister this morning.
Anyway.
Well, another event that is playing out in the last 24 hours is perhaps that there's hope, amid the threat of military invasion, when you consider that the Minister of Information has been speaking to the international media and has said talks have been reopened between Washington and Abuja, and this will be resolved in no distant time.
Absolutely.
So that's what came through. But we have more for you on the program later on today.
Okay.
We'll be heading over to Anambra.
Yes, today we're talking about the PDP convention. It has been stopped yet again. It was stopped, it was lifted, and it stopped again. And then Anambra, the governor has actually collected his certificate. His return that confirmed that he's now the governor of the state. Of course, he won that election with a landslide. And we're talking about Abga politics in Anambra. So, because I have the next.
Yes, indeed. And from there, we'll head over to Edo State, where we'll be seeking clarity over the state of the museum, the Moa Museum. Did the state government indeed revoke the certificate of that piece of infrastructure? Well, the state government has clarified that, and we'll be getting more details as far as that is concerned, and other issues relating to Edo governance. Beyond that, we'll also be getting updates on the ongoing COP30 climate summit in Brazil, as we catch up with our correspondent Ayola Kasim, who will be reporting from Belém Pará in Brazil. So that's our offering for you on the program today.
That's the outlook of the program, but let's get straight to the papers in just a moment. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. Let's bring in Ige Akaraga. Is a member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Mr. Akaraga, thank you so much for your patience and for coming through.
Good morning, Jeffrey and Bukola. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Absolutely. We'll get started with the Vanguard, but I'm sure you have comments about with the video. We had to play that entire video of the face-off between Honorable Minister Wike and the military officer. But in addition to that, let's read what the Vanguard is leading with. Diplomatic Trump. It leads with Trump. Diplomatic engagement yielding results. That's according to the federal government. Alleges certain U.S.-based lobby groups working to misrepresent the situation. FG not doing enough. They're increasing killing. That's according to U.S. Congressman. The couple of riders and all of that. Mr. Karega, now to you.
Well, I've always said that these are interesting times. The blame game continues. The minister, Mohammed Idris, is a great professional. He's one of our very senior colleagues in the profession. Yes, he's doing a good job, but the point being missed here is how did we get to where we are in the first place? Rather than blame some lobbyists in the United States and some banned groups in Nigeria that are lobbying the U.S., either to invade Nigeria, to impose economic sanctions. The point is, how did we get to where we are? Now, we have laws guarding us. We have the Nigerian Constitution, which is the ground norm in the first place? Can we look at ourselves in the face and say that we are obeying the Nigerian Constitution? We have the Federal Republic of Nigeria with 2 sets of laws. We have, the criminal code operating in southern Nigeria, and then we have the penal code operating in northern Nigeria. Yet this is one country. Now, some political proponents in the north has moved beyond the penal code to enact the Sharia code, Sharia set of laws, that prescribe certain punishments for certain crimes, which also is taken care of in the Constitution. So these are the legal ambiguities. These are the legal conundrums. Each time I hear the minister or some government officials talking about the complexity of the Nigerian state, or that the Nigerian situation is different, it is complex, it is multidimensional, and it is difficult to understand. Yes, we have made it so complex, we have deliberately made it so difficult for others to understand. But those who are attacking people, who are killing people, who are grabbing and seizing lands, of course have a clear agenda. They know what they are doing. They know they are going to hide under this so-called complex, multi-ethnic, multi-tribal, multi-religious state to explain away the mass killing of Nigerians. I don't think anybody who is watching the Nigerian situation is impressed. And if you look at the U.S. Congressman Bill Hoxada, who is insisting that the Nigerian government is not doing enough, and it resonates with so many people. Yes, it is easy to accuse people who don't agree with the government of being unpatriotic. But have we been able to fix our problems? Just look at what you took time to show Nigerians this morning, the show of shame, the show of disgrace between the Minister of the FCT and naval officers over land. Now, anybody watching this anywhere in the world, is that going to instill and inspire confidence, whether it's in terms of investment, whether in terms of property and personal security as you come into the country? This is the nation's capital. I feel very ashamed that this played out. But again, I must commend the naval officer who exercised utmost restraint. It takes a great training by an officer at that level to restrain himself, because they were even shoving and pushing, and you could see the minister, using very uncouth language, and you and Bukola in the studio have said it all. It is unbecoming of a public office holder. Apparently, it is also the mental attitude that it is we versus them, those that we have elected to preside over our common patrimony. They are the ones who now look at the rest of Nigerians as servants. So it's not a master-servant relationship. Otherwise, I do not think a governor or a minister should be talking to any Nigerian citizen in that form. Talk less a serving military officer. These are people, individuals who have laid down their lives for the rest of us. I mean, this is a shame, honestly speaking, this morning.
And we hope that we do not have to talk about this or see such events play out again. But why am I not very optimistic about that, Mr. Ikeria? I guess the answer lies in the obvious. Let's head over to the Nigerian Tribune this morning, and it also focuses on security, but from another perspective, or another aspect, if you like. Reps begin probe of border security architecture funding, and there are some very worrying riders underneath the big story here. Only 84 out of identified 1,978 entry points are officially manned by security operatives. Now, 84 out of 1,978 entry points. In the 2024 budget alone, about 4.1 trillion naira was allocated to defense. And we have an undetermined amount that is allocated to the subnationals as security vote. Is this justified? And doesn't it seem like we're playing Ludo with security, hence the killings that we continue to see?
Yeah, apparently I agree. The issue of border security has presented a debilitating ailment to national security itself. Now, what is our national security plan if you cannot secure your borders? You keep hearing government officials, saying that our borders are too porous. The Nigerian borders are wide, they are too porous. I mean, it's just a shame when you hear these narratives. Why are you in public office if you cannot secure the borders? Now we are more than 65 years in nationhood, in statehood. We are still talking about border security. What is the stretch? What is the size of Nigerian border that we cannot really police adequately? Early this morning at about 5 a.m., I drove a long stretch in the nation's capital, Abuja here. You can't see one policeman, one police vehicle. You can't find anywhere. That is the nation's capital. A lot of money is voted to police the cities for border security. You just cannot find these equipments. You can't find these individuals. And that is why we continue to have, cross-border inflow of light weapons and arms coming in that is used by terrorists who are also crossing the borders up and down and killing Nigerians. So if we can't secure our borders, then we have lost the moral right to talk about internal security, because once the internal security is breached, the individuals who breached it they have their route. They just go back to neighboring countries, whether it is Chad, Niger, or Cameroon. They go back there and then they can cross back at will. So I think the first point with regards to trying to secure borders is to shut down the border. If I were Mr. President, by now we'll shut down the border for 3 months and then crack down heavily on those who will be trapped in the country. They can't return back to their bases outside of the country. That's the first thing to do. Shut down the entire stretch of border, whether from Katsina down to Lagos, Benin, Ogun State. Shut the entire border down so nobody crosses in and out. Those who are the people who are saying, "Oh, our brothers live across the border," oh, they are in Niger and Chad. I see these people as sympathizers who are also opening the doors for individuals to come and breach our national security. The time and moment for unnecessary emotion and sympathy, I must say, this morning is over. We have to get down to work. We have to safeguard our country. We have to restore our national pride and dignity as a country. And the first thing to do, even as provided for in the Constitution, by way of, the entire purpose of government is for the security and welfare of citizens. So if government cannot guarantee the security of citizens, then I wonder what people are doing in government. But I must also this morning say that the president is doing his best. He has reshuffled the security architecture. We now have a new service chief. We have a new CDS, and I think they are getting back to work in a manner that I'm sure in the next few weeks and months, perhaps we'll see the positive results coming out, as alluded to by the minister. We'll wait and see. Our hands are crossed.
All right, Mr. Carrier, let's get to the Guardian newspaper. This is, I know you're interested in this particular one as well. Ambition, legal battle, stop PDP convention, threaten 2027 prospect. It's like this is a roller coaster for the PDP. The kinds of things I've seen happen with the PDP can only be in a movie. But what do you make of this?
Well, I think those who want the soul of the PDP are just afraid of that party. They think that perhaps if the PDP is able to rejuvenate, is able to rekindle itself and come alive and mobilize its forces, perhaps that can present a formidable force in 2027. But that's the beauty of pluralistic democracy which we are practicing. If we should have opposition parties, being able to mobilize their ranks and then contest elections. Electorates and voters should have choices, because that's the beauty of the electoral system, electoral democracy itself. If people do not have choices, then that is not a democracy. That is it's a mockery of pseudo democracy, as I'll put it. So this morning, I think that having court judgments that will ask the PDP to proceed with its convention, and then you have other court judgments, placing a ban on the convention. Again, this comes to the judiciary. The judiciary itself needs to put its house in order. Once a court has made pronouncement, I would think that a sister court with co-ed jurisdiction or powers should either take a cue from what the co-ed court has pronounced, except one of the parties approach the appellate court, which is a superior court to the court of first instance. So this is just the whole gamut of the national crisis that we have, where you have even the judiciary not judiciary that is unable to put its ass in order, and then you see this contrary judgment that clashes, here and there. So it's unfortunate. But for me, I think that the PDP should be allowed to do its convention in peace, and so that Nigerians can have a choice. The Labour Party should put its house in order. ADC and other parties should be allowed to put their houses in order. But again, who do you blame? I think the PDP itself is also suffering from internal nausea, internal, contradiction. It's a self-inflicted injury. The party leaders itself are not able to put their house in order. And as Shino Ashebe would say, things fall apart. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. That is what is happening to that party. It's so unfortunate. It's a show of shame also in that party.
We'll continue to watch how things play out with the People's Democratic Party as well as other political parties as a build-up to the 2027 general election, because it feels like the big agenda is to make sure that this party doesn't produce a presidential candidate. And I'm sure they know, and I'm sure that they know that. One of the things that is very worrying is trying to be blindsided on what is quite obvious and how to address it. But I must thank you, Igor Akarega, as always, for bringing your expertise on these issues as far as dailies are concerned. Igor Akarega is a member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors and also a journalist. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
It's always a pleasure. By the way, editors have converged in Abuja for the annual national convention that is hosted by the FCT. This morning, I think editors are going to the villa and Mr. President is going to declare the conference open. So it's a good one for the media this morning.
Fantastic. And I'm sure they were engaging on issues of national interest. What a time to have that conference, especially now. But thank you. Thank you, Mr. Akarega. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
We'll take a break. When we come back after the break, we'll switch gears now to talk about what exactly is going on with the People's Democratic Party. The convention was stopped by a court, a federal high court. The state high court came and said, no, you can continue. Well, another case was in court at the federal high court filed by former governor, and that has restrained the PDP from holding its national convention. What exactly is going on? That is the next conversation right here on the program. Join us again.
Welcome back. And so we'll start off with politics this morning with two court judgments stopping the PDP National Convention from holding. You could say that it's probably a case of double, triple, or many whammy for the former opposition party, the main opposition party, rather, the People's Democratic Party, a party that held power for 16 years. But let's find out what exactly is happening with the PDP, get insights into what's playing out within the party following this recent court judgment. And joining us on the program is former Vice Chairman Southwest of the People's Democratic Party, Chief Eddie Olafeso. He joins us virtually from Akure, the Ondo State capital, this morning. Chief Olafeso, welcome to the morning brief.
Thank you, Buki. It's nice to see you again.
Indeed. It's the same on this side of the divide, sir. So we saw former Governor Sule Lamido, speak to the press weeks ago when he went to your party's headquarters in Abuja to try to secure a form to enable him contest for the position of national chairman ahead of the national convention. And he couldn't secure it. And he was clear about his next line of action, that he was going to take the party to court. The question is, were there efforts within the party to appeal to him and to ensure that, where we are now didn't happen?
Let me thank you so very much. What is playing out is part of the grand conspiracy hatched a long time ago to actually, weigh down the People's Democratic Party and do everything possible within their powers to make sure that this convention did not go on. The reality of it is that Sule Lamido was one of the founding, members of this party who benefited extensively and intensively over the years, promoted from obscurity to the limelight they found themselves. And he is very much aware of the processes that lead into a convention. INEC will meet. They have not been part of our party for a long, long time. I cannot remember the last time as a member of BOT myself that I saw Alhaji Sule Lamido in any of our meetings. In his last conversation with the media, Arise or Channel somehow, he said that he's going to stay in PDP and work for ADC. And along the line, they started plotting their strategy of ensuring that they boil down on PDP not to move forward. For instance, he is aware of the fact that, when a convention will take place, the timetable will come up for people to collect forms, to pay for forms, to submit the forms, and ensure readiness. They will do the screening, and eventually candidates will be cleared to contest. Lamido went away. He never returned, and then suddenly returned when the forms were closed, and he can no longer obtain one. Well, how can you explain that? I saw him shedding crocodile tears yesterday, as if his own intention and whatever he wanted to do was not in the public domain. But for us, no matter how big you are as an individual, no matter how powerful you are, an individual cannot be greater than the party. The People's Democratic Party have come a long way. They have re-energized us by their conspiracy. And we know fully well that all this shopping around for judgment will be a nullity, because the Supreme Court himself already gave a judgment over the issue of party administration at the first congresses and the convention. And you could see what happened about a couple of days ago when INEC said the body is recognizing the Damagun leg, and all they wanted to do is to scuttle us at all costs by all means. But because they started failing and they will continue to fail, we are going ahead, and we are sure that the 15th and the 16th of November, that is last week, this week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, will be devoted to relieving the party. The party will be given back to anew, and will continue to forge ahead and build a party that will be in resonance with the people of Nigeria, and for us a new deal that can take us back to governing this country, because of the way they have shredded us and the kind of disrepute most of these political leaders have put our party and the country.
I want to read something that one of the dailies reported, and I'm wondering whether or not this was just an order or the PDP had a chance to be represented in the case. So I want to read literally how it is reported. Justice Lifu said the order became necessary because the PDP failed to comply with the relevant legal requirements guiding the conduct of the convention. He noted that evidence, this is where I was going to, he noted that evidence before the court showed that the party did not publish the timetable for the exercise as required by law and therefore acted in breach of due process. The judge held that the balance of convenience favored Sule Lamido, as he would suffer greater harm if unlawfully excluded from the process. So my question, sir, is it true that it wasn't published? Because the judge agrees with him and gave the restraining order.
That's a nonsensical approach. It was published in the newspapers. It was published across the social media. It was published across every possible opportunity to reach out to everybody. They know what they are doing, my brother, but they have failed that initiative. Yesterday, I was on Channel 7 and I told a few of the key players that it insisted that PDP must fail because they are not driving all the conspiracies, all the internal democracy death they have created by their very, very attitude. And we the PDP have promoted a lot of them beyond their level of competence, and they are beginning to be embarrassment to the country in every form they have participated. How can you ever explain somebody who actually took the party ticket for 2 terms, won his election, decamping from the party? Is it in our spirit or is it in our style? Let me explain. The truth is that there is a generation of People's Democratic Party leadership that will not take that kind of nonsense, that insists that we must comply with our constitution, and we continue to punish those people that constantly trample on the rights of other people. Prelude to 22, 23 elections, some people were just manipulating the party the way they wanted. Here in the north today, tomorrow in the south, they did all they did. They came out clear that they are going to destroy the party. They promised other people. Look, many of them already have people they are working for. And all they wanted to do is to make sure that PDP will not have this Ibadan convention. And let me tell you, for those of us remaining, including Governor Sheyi Makinde, who has taken up leadership in such a way that we confront the demon and we will bring it to its knees, because that is the desire of a lot of our people across this country, and even Nigerians. They are asking questions. When is the party going to move against this rule? They are afraid just because they know that part of the conventional responsibility is resetting, recalibrating the party for the future that can actually be of meaning to the Nigerian people. The poverty is too much. The insecurity is cleaning the lives, many lives of our people on a daily basis. Nothing is being done. 12, 13 years after, we're still grappling as to what to be done to ensure that our people are safe. This can't go on, my brother. And that's the reason why PDP must be stronger, must actually confront these demons. Whatever game they play, we are resolved. We're moving ahead without these characters. And they will pay dearly for the consequences of what they have done to the PDP. Number one, Sule Lamido understands what he is doing. This is the same man who unilaterally, on his own, picked his son to run for the governorship of Jigawa, ran down the entire place. How many times have we won Jigawa since the Lamido left? It is the legacy of their leadership. A 77-year-old man still thinking that what he can do is to lie to get what he wants. How will he actually present himself to his children? You know, we have to be serious about these things, because politics is a serious matter. It affects lives. We must salvage our people. We must salvage this country and bring back a credible opposition that can look these people in the eye and say enough is enough. 2 years, our people are wiped out. There's no middle class in this country anymore. No, everybody, we are poor people. Even when you see clothes on people's back, you don't know what they are going through at home. So let me celebrate the leadership of the party, Bala, Mohammed, Sheyi Makinde, Adeleke, and all our governors that are still left. You know, let me tell you, even when my brother Ayofanji said that yeah, they are all going, we elected them, they didn't elect us. The power the people is greater than that of the governor. The history of the governor is not the history of the People's Democratic Party. For those patrons who fought the military to actually give us the opportunity to be free again, we must do their memory the honor of ensuring that we did not allow this rule to succeed. So, this PDP will rise again and take its pride of place as an opposition, like the Democrats did in America. You know, a few days ago. They swept the entire country. That's what we should be doing. If it were in Nigeria, many of the people who have actually gone to APC.
If I may come in there, sir, you have voiced support repeatedly in your commentary for efforts of the governor of Oyo State, Sheyi Makinde, to chart a way forward for the party through this planned national convention that is now in contention. But repeatedly, we've also heard reports about state chairman of the party, voicing grievances about his handling of party congresses. And some would say that what the PDP is going through now is self-inflicted. Our guest in the newspaper commentary referred to that. So it appears as if those who are also planning this national convention for your party are also part of the problem.
Let me tell you, There has been a conspiracy constantly. No matter what decision we take, they will find force, they will fight it, they will pitch the people against the people. And in an environment this extremely poor, it is very, very easy to induce. They are unfounded. Where are their facts and figures about interference? It is they trying to ensure that they do everything possible to create crisis in the People's Democratic Party. The solution, Bookie, is our convention taking place, starting all over again. We know the challenges ahead of us, the enormity of rebuilding a party that was handed over to hyenas, and they have done what they needed to do with it, and to sanitize it all over again. But we are equal to the task. We are willing to do the hard work. We are willing to ensure that we bring our people back together. And those betrayers, the traitors, they will have their field day with before the constitution of the party. And that's exactly what the role of the convention will be in Ibadan. We are all set and we are moving ahead. And whatever they throw on us, we will use it to build a beautiful platform for generations years unborn to continue to administer Nigeria the best way we all say we can. They are all just lying. Lying against man today is a fashion. When you are afraid of somebody, you try as well to put him down. But how can you put somebody doing well at home and abroad down when he's doing his ultimate best to ensure that the party he met that favored him with a ticket is kept alive? They want him to join them so that they can destroy this legacy. But he has chosen a path to actually drive this to the nearest, destination of ensuring that we are back as to ourselves. He said it repeatedly that, listen, what is important is to put our party back, reorganize it, harmonize it, bring it back together as a winning party. And that's exactly what we are doing. All the other dramas and all the lies are unfounded. And time will tell. And you will see that it is they that are lying against the people, and the people we have there. They are going nowhere. I tell you, they are going nowhere. They have failed avenues.
Okay, sir. The legal conundrum and the legal landmines are all over the place. And it looks like one day, one trouble for the People's Democratic Party. For onlookers and political extrapolators, it looks like it's quite clear that the idea or the end game is to make sure that the party doesn't have a candidate. That's on one hand. On the other hand, is whether or not the party is following its own guidelines and its own constitution and rules. On the other part, again, the Federal High Court has said, do not hold this convention, telling everybody who's supposed to monitor, do not monitor, because the PDP has said congresses were not held because there's an argument of which congress is being recognized. Perhaps that's the argument. And then the State High Court, which perhaps doesn't have jurisdiction, has overturned. Courts of concurrent jurisdiction. So it looks like a coordinated chaos in some sense. So when you say you are moving forward, what are you going to do? Because these things will resurface as a trigger to maybe botch whatever it is you're moving ahead with.
Thank you very much, my brother. And the reality of it is that we're within the confines of the laws of the land, and whatever it takes to ensure that we arrive at destination, ensuring that the Constitution is respected. If a judge in his own mind thought that the decision of the Supreme Court over a matter can be brushed aside without taking cognizance of the fact and the implication it has on democracy, then in effect other judges will frown at that. What is at play is exactly the interpretation of the Supreme Court judgment over Plateau in the pre-election matter between Muftang and the current, chairman of APC. And it is already determined that the party should be allowed. That it is, the judge, I'm talking about Justice Amatoso, even gave those who come before him, or those that he is fronting for, what they did not ask He was saying that there were 14 congresses uncompleted. No, we still have 4 days to the election. If there are congresses, it takes a few hours for you to, realign yourself and complete it. As of today, maybe 2 or 3 that have actually within that time of judgment at this moment, the National Working Committee already took, their decision over them, and it's already, completed a readiness for the convention. But out of 36 states, 3 states will not be the reason when it is a simple majority for the convention not to go ahead. But we go the extra length most of the time to make sure that everybody is on board, because it is to the advantage of the party that everybody is on board and we're in the same boat to this destination. I feel pity for those leaders who benefited everything from the party, and all they felt they can do is to destroy its future, because it will not happen. And the laws of the land will be kind enough to protect the PDP. Like you constantly say, and I listen to you respectfully on this channel, you said that it would not augur well for Nigeria to be a one-party state, and that every hand must be on deck to make sure that we did not allow that in this country. If not, we're already a banana republic, from not being secure at home, from the economy going down south, from the fact that our territorial integrity is in straits. Every hand must be on deck to make sure that we don't kill, opposition and the voice of the people. Lawyers, the judiciary, civil society, NBA, NJC, every one of us must come together and ensure that we survive and the People's Democratic Party is allowed to be its own thing.
And speaking of benefits, some have looked at what's playing out and questioned the altruism behind this resolve by the Oyo State governor to set things in order for the PDP. There are reports that, because he has a presidential ambition, that is the real ulterior motive behind this, and not necessarily because of a love for the PDP. And my question based on this is, are party members, including you, interrogating this, particularly based on his interactions with the G5 governors and support for the presidential candidate of the APC and current president ahead of the 2023 presidential election? So are you interrogating his motive?
Let me tell you something. If you call Governor Seyi Makinde 1,000 times, what you will hear from him is the fact that how do you contest in a party that is not united, that has not been mobilized to act together? What kind of ambition is that? He is entirely that he told me, and I'm close to him enough to know exactly. The intention is not to become a presidential candidate, but the reality is, there must be a departure. No, this party must not be divided. Let us all come together so that we can forge ahead and build a very strong platform for our party to express their opinion regarding the political situation in the country. So she is not driven by personal ambition. He's driven by the fact that he wanted the parties, and that's why I believe in it. Let me state it clearly to you, Buki. I've been here for the last 25 years. I've never secured any form, apart from being the National Vice Chairman and a member of a National Working Committee. I'm currently a Board of Trustees, which is just a position of honor and responsibility, not a position that gives you a couple in terms of remuneration. But we are committed and happy. The joy of being a member of a party that did so well in the past, bringing Nigeria and Paria State into the Committee of Nations, Obasanjo's 8 years, Yar'Adua's 2 years, and Jonathan's 6 years. Nigeria was actually climbing the firmament. And then suddenly, lo and behold, they became the baboons and those people that they said they were spilling blood. And for the last 10 years, they've been spilling blood. Coming back to your question, she is not for raw ambition and presidency. She says, let us move ahead as one party. Let all of us join hands. But those conspirators, Those who are intent on destroying and betraying the party will do otherwise. You can see it in public space. Many of them, their arbitrariness, their bullying nature cannot just sustain anything. And these people are so rich, there's nothing they cannot destroy. A third world economy that very people can even feed their family. A dangle can actually be dangerous. For us, we have accepted our faith and our principle, and what we believe is a historical responsibility for us is to ensure that we build this party to a formidable winning party in the nearest future.
All right, our eyes are on November the 15th and the 16th, and we're watching to see if indeed this national convention will hold. We must anchor at this point, and thank you very much for your insights on the program. We've been talking with Chief Eddie Olafeso, former National Vice Chairman, Southwest of the People's Democratic Party, and member Board of Trustees. Thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you for your kindness, Buki, and regards to our colleagues out there.
Indeed. We'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll head over to Anambra State, where we'll continue our review of the performance of the ruling party in the state, the All Progressives Grand Alliance. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's talk about what has been playing out in Anambra State. At the weekend, some of us were there to cover the Anambra State governorship election, where the All Progressive Grand Alliance yet again made its presence strong, winning the landslide over 70% of the votes, about 422,000 plus in excess of vote, as against the over 584,000 of total valid vote cast. Although it's an improvement from 2021, which was about 10% voter turnout, to now about 21% voter turnout, is still very low turnout of voters if you look at 100 as against 20. But yesterday, the governor collected his certificate of return from the Independent National Electoral Commission. Let's bring in the national chairman of the party, Sly Ezeokenwa. He joins us virtually from Oka, the Anambra State capital. Mr. Ezeokenwa, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Yeah, thank you so much, my brother Joe, for having me.
Congratulations to you and your party. Let me ask, how does it feel, yet again, victory for the All Progressive Grand Alliance?
Well, for me, it is a very exciting feeling. Why I describe it as exciting and truly humbling is that for the, should I say, the sixth time now, India Anambra have continued to repose their trust and faith in Africa. It shows that the people understand the extent of what Africa has been able to bring to Anambra in terms of development. And so, looking at the numbers, because it's very, very important that we highlight the numbers to actually underscore the significance of this victory. Out of 21 local government, ABGA won in all the local government in Anambra State, 21 over 21. And out of 326 electoral wards, ABGA won in about 318 or 319 or so. And then in all the polling units, we have 5,718 polling units where elections were actually conducted. ABGA won in about 99.4% of those polling units. And so when you have figures like this, I think it shows the level of acceptability, it shows the level of acceptance, and it shows to what extent people are willing to reward a government that has fully cared for them over the years. So for me, it's exciting, it is humbling, and it calls for more service from us and dedication from us in Anambra.
Level of acceptability are judged to have been bought by the candidates in the election, a lot of whom put out evidence online to show the level of vote buying, which was widespread according to them, which was also corroborated by civil society that we had on the program, which, you know, told us categorically that the ruling party was deeply involved in vote buying in this election. I'd like you to speak to that.
I do not agree at all, and I've made that point on several interviews. There are certain allegations you hear. I think the best way to describe it is shocking. Shocking in the sense that I do not understand the deep pocket that APGA has, you know, to control the resources to be able to generate the number of votes that we did, when we have a candidate of the ruling party at the center that could actually amass any level of funds that he wanted. And we had other political parties that we are trying as much as possible to throw some funds or inject some resources in this election. Look, my dear sister, there's a point I will make to you. There is a hypothesis that we tested in this election. And what was that hypothesis? The hypothesis is how much, when a government plays the politics of development, how much that politics of development translates to what Mr. Governor calls a political capital or political incentive on the part of the people. Why do I say this? If you check the trajectory of our campaign, we had our primaries in April. And after the primaries, I think the public campaign started sometime in June, July. And from the time public campaign started, the people of Anambra, the 179 communities in Anambra, the 326 electoral ward, took up a different approach to this election. And what was that approach? The approach was a public or communal ownership of the campaign of APGA, in the sense that what the governor did in the communities and local governments he visited was simply to show his presence. The communities organized themselves, rented canopies, rented stages, did everything, decorated the venue, and invited the governor to come speak to them about the impact of what he has done in those local governments. And at the end of the day, the people gathered their meager resources and donated in aid of the campaign. That is what I call ownership. We've never witnessed such a thing in this country. I stand to be corrected. And so when you see, you know, all these pockets of allegation, because the question is, or from the, you know, the way I think about it, when they stay and they look at the gap, they look at the margin of lead, they begin to ask themselves questions. What could have happened? In everything I've heard, I've only seen just one or two pictures on social media where I think someone was captured outside, well outside of any polling unit with some funds that we don't know how the picture emanated, and it is trending on social media. Aside from that, there is absolutely no modicum of evidence that anybody has brought to substantiate these allegations of vote buying. So it's not enough. I'm a lawyer. It is not enough to just say, oh, civil society organizations and various persons have come out to say, oh, this election was, you know, vitiated by massive or widespread vote buying. Bring those evidence. And I can tell you that APGA, as a political party, has never been our style. It has never been our approach to election. Our approach to election is to connect to the people. My dear, you monitor these campaigns. It was as if Soludo was the only person that was moving from community to community, local government to local government. And at the end of the day, when it translates to political capital or goodwill of the people, which has been expressed through a credible and integrity, you know, free ballot, then you come around and say, oh, you know, it must have been a product of vote buying.
Before we leave this matter,
we must do better than that.
It's hard to believe that you say that your party didn't have the resources, because well ahead of the election, we counted as, you know, stakeholders in the election, supporters of your party donated monies to the campaign, to your candidate and the incumbent. We counted in excess of about 500 million naira. And your candidate was also incentivizing the foot soldiers, you know, to go ahead and get people to come out and vote, which was, you know, frowned upon as vote buying, even though remote. So when you say that your party didn't have the resources to even commit to vote buying, that is rather hard to believe, Chief Okenwa.
No. When you understand, if you talk, you talked about in the excess of 500 million. I don't know if you can do a simple calculation. If you divide 500 million by 5,718 polling units, I think what you get there is a pittance. Mind you, there are agents that will be deployed across all the polling units in the state. And under the Electoral Act, it is well within the law for those agents to be given whatever pretense that will aid them in the performance of their responsibility on the election day. That is the responsibility of the campaign committee. And I do not think such amounts can ever achieve anything meaningful. But the point I'm making is, irrespective of whatever permutations you're making, the most important thing is that as a national chairman and someone who was an integral part of this campaign, I can tell you that we did not allocate any amount of money whatsoever for vote buying. And this issue that you raised about the governor incentivizing, party members, that issue has been discussed, and even the campaign committee had even brought out a statement to explain what the governor meant. It was very simple, that over the years, and just like my brother Joe said when he was, reading the introductory remarks to this discussion, he said, and he mentioned the percentage of voter turnout in 2021 and what we witness now. Even what we witness now, which is, yes, quite an improvement over what we had in 2021, it is still far less than our expectation, because we believe that as a state we should be doing between 40 to 50% voter turnout. And what the governor did was to try as much as possible to incentivize the party members at the various level to go all out and campaign and ensure that that negative trend of voter apathy is actually overturned in this election. Yes, the nature of their campaign has brought some reward, because if you look at the numbers, like I said, you will see a remarkable improvement from what we had in 2021. But still, it is still a far cry from what we believe, where we believe we are going, or where we believe we are headed.
All right, Mr. Ezekawa, is it the performance? Because we're going to talk about this performance of His Excellency the Governor, whether or not is the real main reason for the overwhelming support, or there are confluences of factors that have played a key role. One of those factors is that ABGA is naturally a legacy party. Coincidentally, Dumego Ojukwu, who is the founder of the party, who is seen as the patriarch of that region, was born and he died in the month of November. So it looks like this is a heritage party in some sense, and that's on one hand. On the other hand is the fact that some members of other political parties have said that the ABGA party had tactically immobilized them and not allowing them to campaign as much as they want in terms of discrimination by cost. I've heard that as well. On the other hand, it looked like the APC itself, at the national level, was not really interested in causing any upset on one hand, because when I looked at the statement of the president congratulating His Excellency Professor Chukwuma Soludo, I had empathy almost empathy for Ukachukwu Nicholas, because the joy of the presidents was literally radiating from that statement. So, ab initio, APC had no pressure on the governor, the legacy issue, the tactical demobilization, and of course the issue of vote buying, which we understand that the major political parties, it was free for all of you to do whatever you want. So, do you really think it's his performance or all the confluences I've just listed that played a key role in helping him to win this election with a landslide?
Well, I think for me, anybody can do all manner of permutations, all manner of analysis, all manner of whatever, leading to this victory. But then, it's what I call, like you said, it's a confluence of factors. There's no doubt about that. But top of that factor is what I call the politics of development. From the beginning that the government of the administration of Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo got accepted in Anambra State, the governor, right from day one, said that he was an agenda with a deadline, and then there had no time. Given the avalanche of the campaign promises that he had made, and given the extent of what I may call the issues, I don't want to say deterioration, to that extent. And the governor set out immediately. And if you look at, if you use any indices to measure good governance, I think Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo tops the list. I stand to be corrected, of any state in Nigeria, be it in terms of deployment of technology, be it in terms of infrastructural development, be it in terms of human capital, and be it in terms of massive investments in the social agenda. And all these are what has led to that political capital that I said the governor talked about, that he was testing a hypothesis. And what was that hypothesis? It is a hypothesis that when a government is truly interested, or when a government has heavily invested in the politics of development for the people, in terms of women who go to various hospitals to have their delivery, antenatal and postnatal care free of charge, in terms of children who from the time they are giving birth to until they finish the senior secondary school, it's free of any tuition or any fees whatsoever in all the public schools in Anambra State. And so when you see a government
my apologies, because of time. So my apologies, sir. So, sorry, you just don't lose your trail of thoughts so that I can throw in this question as we begin to wind down. So what exactly in specific can you say? I know you've started listed some in terms of what will mark a legacy for Professor Chukwuma Soludo, because I also know I was in Amobia. I was in community primary school at Amobia to cover the election. So I was in Oka South. Some of my colleagues were in other places. And one had complained about the state of road in Nnewi, which is supposed to be like the industrial zone of the state. So what exactly has he done?
Yeah. My dear, if you say you were in Amobia and then you didn't see what Soludo has done around the Anambra State capital of Oka or Anambra State capital territory, then I really doubt if you were really in Amobia. When you talk about Nnewi, there is a dualization project that has gone on now from Amobia that you talked about up to Ekulobia. And in Amobia alone, this government has constructed about 15 internal roads. They are still standing till date. And the Nnewi you talked about, this is the first government. This is the first government in the history of Anambra State that has paid massive attention to the development and infrastructural improvement of Nnewi axis. From Nwaguagro, there's a place we call Nwaguagro. There is a dualization project ongoing now that crisscrosses Nnewi and stretches up to the Onitsha-Owerri Expressway. And there are more than 6 or 7 internal roads that have been constructed within Nnewi. The major challenge within Nnewi, I can tell you, is the neglect by previous government or previous administration. None of the administration that has been in Anambra has really paid attention to Nnewi. It is now that Nnewi is receiving its due attention as what I may call the industrial capital of Nigeria or even Anambra State. And so for infrastructural development, you remember you asked me whether it was a confluence of factors that led to the magnitude of this victory. And so when you remove the performance of the governor, you look at the quality of the opposition as well. The question is, who did you have on the ballot that could have posed a challenge to Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo? I do not think there was actually anyone. And apart from that, there is equally the issue of zoning that the governor was equally talking about on various campaigns, that in Anambra State today, it is more like an unwritten rule that zoning has come to stay. And the people of Anambra South of what, which is the senatorial zone where Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo hailed from, has just 4 years to complete their bite at the cherry in terms of the governorship of Anambra State. And it will move to Anambra Central. And so all these and many more. The only problem I have is, I think you were saying something, trying to allude to somehow, do I say, a hidden support by the president. Of course, I will tell you this. The president has never failed to mention his admiration and the extent of the friendship that he has enjoyed with Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo. It has been there. It's something that has lasted over 2 decades. And you don't expect the president to come all out. So that on one side. Again, these factors, these appointees are members of the opposition or Progressive Congress in Anambra State. They are people with eyes, they have feelings, they interact with people in various communities. And they tell you that there is absolutely nothing you can do to change a Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo from the helm of affairs of Anambra State. If you talk about development, the man has worked more than any government. If you talk about management of resources, in fact, I think before this election, the state of performance and ranking of states in Nigeria, and Anambra State was #1 on the list. So how do you, in all your right senses, decide to change a winning team? How do you change a government that has brought so much development, so much joy, and so much attention to Anambra State in view of the fact that Anambra now tops the ranks in virtually everything? A governor that has won the best governor of the year from about 10 to 15 reputable newspapers and organizations all around the country. There is absolutely nothing you can do. Any indices you use to measure good governance, check it. This government tops the list.
That in itself will place a question mark on our democracy if, you know, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces would express support for a candidate and not particularly show interest in terms of, you know, how the election is conducted as against, you know, what we see in other parties and in other states. But that's another matter and another kettle of fish entirely. Other candidates have thrown a challenge to us and we're interested in taking it, by the way, but we'll also follow up on some of the questions that they're asking of the administration. As far as infrastructure, perhaps you let me land on my question. As far as infrastructure is concerned, in many parts of Anambra, they're leading us to believe that some of the things that we see, you know, may be tantamount to propaganda. They're particularly asking questions about Onitsha, that development ought to have, you know, been facilitated at a more advanced stage, considering that it is one of Africa's biggest main markets, but the state of infrastructure in Onitsha still leaves much to be desired, not just infrastructure, but also the environment as well. I'd like you to speak to that, and then perhaps you want to also speak to other issues that you're raising.
I think for us not to belabor this point, I really am willing, you know, to donate my resources, and at least because when you stay in the comfort of your studios and then make these analyses, I think you're really, really detached from the actual situation on ground in Anambra State. So I wouldn't mind sponsoring the entire crew on a trip to Onitsha. Incidentally, my local government is Onitsha South local government. In Onitsha South, that's where I'm registered to vote. That's where I live. In Onitsha South local government area alone, all the roads that the administration of Mbadeluju, Ngige, P2B, and Obiano did put together is not up to what Soludo did in 3 years. In Onitsha South local government area alone, if you get to that, in fact, the day we went to commission one of the critical roads that cuts across the artery of that particular local government, a keke rider came out, emptied his pocket, and gave the governor the money that he brought out from his pocket, expressing immense goodwill and appreciation for gratitude for what the governor has done in Onitsha South. What did the keke man say? The keke man said previously, in a week or 2 weeks, I used to spend social amount of money just going to mechanics. If I apply the road once or twice in a week, I'll end up the remaining 3-4 days in the mechanic. But because of the extent of the development and how the governor has rehabilitated virtually all the roads in Onitsha South, that he no longer has that issue with paying the mechanic a large chunk of his resources. And so when these, because you just sit down and probably take points or take views from social media, probably some persons who have different angles or different issues to grind with the governor. I understand that bit. But the fact is that no matter what you do, you cannot change the reality, or you cannot change how much of a feeling the people have towards the governor of Anambra State in what are the remarkable improvement or the remarkable development he has brought in most of the local governments in Anambra State. Okay. Let me give you another statistics. In just 3 years in office, this government has constructed close to 1,000 kilometers of roads. This was far more than most administration did in 8 years in office. In that same Onitsha South local government that I told you about, today there is standing there a brand new specialist hospital. This is a local government that has never had any public hospital from the inception of Anambra State till now. And so that's why when you make these postulations, I think you're really, really, really detached from reality.
All right, Ms. Ezekoma, we're totally out of time. So if you listen to our questions, she said that's what the opponent is saying. So it's important you put the records right because, you know, we're there to cover the election. So we ask questions. We saw some of the things he did. We saw some of the things that have not been done. So it's not a postulation, as you put it. We're a reputable organization. The question I asked you about in Nnewi is because I was covering that central part of Amobia. I had another colleague in Onitsha. We were somewhere in Newi. So besides covering election, we're watching as to what exactly. I even asked question, who did this? They say, is this person that did this? This one did this. Oh, the governor did this. The other governor did this. So it's not a postulation. So, but it is your place to respond and counter the fact if they are not accurate. But thank you, Mr. Sly Ezeokenwa, National Chairman of the All Progressives Grand Alliance. Thank you, sir, and good luck. Congratulations yet again. More work for the governor. We hope he does even better.
Thank you very much. We'll definitely do much, much better in the second term.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll switch gears to Edo State. The controversy around that museum and whether or not the story about revocation, that looks like a new word now, of the CFO is true or false. Well, the government has said not exactly the picture. We'll find out in just a moment. We'll be joined by a spokesman. Join us again.
Welcome back. And so now let's try to understand what exactly is happening with the Museum of West African Arts, MOA, in Benin City, Edo State. What is the status of that museum? Joining us now to tell us more about this and, of course, other issues in Edo State is Mr. Buji Okwemoy. He's a spokesperson to Governor Monday Okpevolo. He joins us virtually from Benin City, the Edo State capital. Good morning, Mr. Okwemoy. Pardon me, I hope I got your name correctly.
I'll give you a 95.
I'll take that and learn to pronounce it better onward from here. Yes, indeed. So let's understand how it is, because we've heard the governor provide explanation to the effect that he didn't know about the visit of the foreign visitors to the museum. Had he known, things would have been different. What were the handover notes, if any, from the former administration to this administration in terms of the handling and the business of the museum?
Okay, thank you very much. To put things in proper perspective and to help people understand the situation with MOA, it's important I give a background on how we got here. So, at the root of the MOA controversy are the Benin artifacts that were returned, that are being returned from the foreign countries where they were taken to after the 1897 British invasion. Now, two Obas before this one started this drive. Oba Akinzwa II, who fought for it and transferred the mandate to his son, Oba Eridiawa, who did the same and transferred to this particular monarch. What's the contention? These items, I mean, people refer to them as artifacts, but these things are not artifacts. They are deeper than artifacts. These are personal property of the palace. These things have spiritual and cultural value, and for as long as they stayed outside where they were supposed to be, they had implications. Now, some years back, thankfully, some foreign governments decided, okay, they were ready. The question was, like they say, the reason we even can be talking about artifacts now is because they were properly preserved over the years. So naturally, these governments and international organizations were concerned about the preservation of these artifacts. So part of the agreement that was had in returning the artifacts was that a world-class standard museum that would preserve those artifacts very effectively would be established in Benin. Of course, all of this was in engagement with the Benin royal family, who own these artifacts. And the president Oba got in touch with it was a conversation he started with Comrade Adam Sushumole, and immediately the past governor, Governor Godwin Obaseki, came into office. He also made that same request that the state should assist in having a Benin Royal Museum built to house those artifacts. And the governor then, Governor Obaseki, publicly at the second coronation anniversary of Omonoba, stated publicly that the state government was in talks with foreign donors to set up the Benin Royal Museum. Now, after that commitment was made, not too long after, of course, there became a tussle. Maybe because the past government, saw the money, because restitution money was also going to be paid in addition to money that was coming for building the museum. maybe they got interested in that, and suddenly the palace was cut out of all communication about the artifact, the museum project. But I mean, this is narrated by the Oba himself a couple of days ago when he was at the palace. And then he said suddenly from nowhere, they came up with a new arrangement called the Legacy Restoration Trust that did not have the input of the palace, that did not have, I mean, it was just totally, the palace was totally sidelined. At the end of the day, the government began to claim a right to those artifacts. And it was the matter that got to the presidency under the leadership of the late President Buhari, and the federal government decided that the proper thing to do was for those artifacts to go to the palace, because these are personal property. These are items that are very central to Benin tradition and Benin worship. Apparently seeing that they weren't going to be able to get those artifacts for the museum again, suddenly everything changed, and then that was where this MOA contraption came up. MOA had nothing to do with the palace, had nothing to do with. And what's more shocking is that we found out that this MOA entity got about 3.8 billion of Edo State resources and was giving prime land. I mean, the value of that land today is over 11 billion naira. But yet we have been told that it's a private entity that has no stake whatsoever of the state government. And so, of course, as these things came out, a lot of Beninese who hold their monarchy in very high esteem and regard. Governor was concerned that such amount of resources were committed to the MOA situation, and I mean the state has no stake. Of course, you look at the sociocultural consequences. I mean, it got to the point where some people even had to protest to the government house about the opening. While these issues were on, the governor had sent some details to the House of Assembly to investigate the MOA project and the Radisson Book project. Suddenly we heard that they were planning an opening, and that wasn't acceptable to a couple of people. But thankfully, on that day, the police was on the ground and they were able to properly inform the guests of what the situation was and why the ceremony couldn't really take place. So that's where we are with the MOA situation. It has a lot of, there's a serious lack of transparency. I mean, we heard the German ambassador at the visit to the governor say 900 million euros were donated by the German government to MOA. We initially thought it was much less, but I mean, we heard her say 900 euros. Let's even assume she made a mistake and meant to say 90 million euros. That's a whole lot of money. We're also aware that the proprietors of that place went to look for donations from Nigerian investors. So much resources went in. And also, it was just a project that had so much shrouded that wasn't very clear. And so investigations are ongoing to identify the circumstances.
So Mr. Kwema, what is now going to be like the way forward, and what is the big controversy? And now I'm happy the way you put out the entire picture for us to see. So I'd like you to speak to the issue of revocation. That's on one hand. On the other hand, is it that the government now wants to say, okay, this is a brilliant idea, we will have a stake in it, the palace will have a stake in it, or no, I've been issued, this was not good in the first place. So give us a clear picture of what the conversation is right now going forward.
Okay, those are possible scenarios you just mentioned. The State House of Assembly is investigating on behalf of the people of Edo State, the intricacies of that arrangement between the proprietors and all the other stakeholders. The governor has set up an internal team. That's on the government side. The ambassadors that came in for that opening, the next day, the governor met with them, explained the situation to them, also took them to the palace of the Oba of Benin to meet with the Oba, who also explained the circumstances. Apparently, what's happening is that the foreign governments who donated to that program, huge resources in terms of materials and finance, were not kept in the true picture. I mean, for example, the German government would not, and other governments would not have dealt with any entity that was not representing the Benin Palace or did not have a stake. But I mean, the Oba, if you check the address of the Oba at the government house, he addressed a lot of all that. So now that the embassies and the donors and the stakeholders are aware of the true situation, conversations are ongoing to see, I mean, how the situation can be remedied. Governor Monday Okpebholo is somebody who's pro-business, who's pro-investment, very pro-investment. He wouldn't want anything that Edo resources have been committed to go to waste. So, I mean, the government is engaging with the stakeholders while the assembly is doing what they are doing to see the best situations that can come out. Like you mentioned some of the scenarios. Okay, how can we have a situation where the palace, who are the custodian of Bini culture, it's so sad that even the event that held the other day, I mean, you say you are bringing people for a cultural dialogue, foreigners, and the palace is not involved. The state government was not aware, which was a breach of protocol, which was a disrespect to the palace and all of that. So those conversations are ongoing to see the best outcomes, that can make everybody satisfied, the palace satisfied, because the funds that was used to build MOA was supposed to house the Bini artifact. So all of that has to be put into place. Concerning the revocation, a bigger problem for the government and the people of Edo State with that project was that where that project is sited used to be the central hospital in Benin. That is a hospital that's over 100 years. The hospital serving a large population of Benin people. I think that was one of the best healthcare centers where the average Benin man could go to access healthcare. That hospital was brought down, and the land was given to MOA, about 7 hectares of land. Now, in that same compound, just by the compound, there's another hospital called the Edo Specialist Hospital that was built by Comrade Adams Oshomole's administration. When that hospital was built, state-of-the-art, fantastic, health facility, plans were included in its design for expansion. For example, the hospital was supposed to be expanded to have a doctor's quarters, to have a mortuary, to have an emergency unit, to expand the wards. I mean, all those space was created in the design. Shockingly, the state government did not only demolish Central Hospital, give the whole land to MOA. All the land around the special hospital was also added to what was given to MOA. Where MOA presently occupies is less than 50% of the size of land that the former administration gave to MOA. So what we have is a situation where the specialist hospital cannot even expand. It's as bad as presently the septic tank, what we call the sockaway of the central hospital, needs to be expanded because of the volume it takes. There's no space to even expand the septic tank. Every land around it was given to to MOA. I mean, so what the government has done is the governor has told them you can't take all in the interest of public, in overriding public interest. The hospital needs land to expand. You are not going to deny Edo people access to healthcare because of your private business claim. So what the governor has done quickly for revocation is that they've told MOA that where they occupy presently is what will be given to them. Now, the other parts of the land have to be given back to the hospital. So the present COO has to be revoked for a new one to be prepared that captures where they are presently. So that's the situation with the revocation.
And that clarifies it. And from your explanation, it appears as if that's a lot of leverage given to MOA. Speaking of which, we hear that the youths are also protesting the nomenclature and are asking why it shouldn't be named the Benin Royal Museum. I wonder if that is part of what will be looked into as efforts are made to resolve the dispute. And I can't resist the urge to get this in. I was hoping that you would appear on the show this morning with your Tinubu cap or your quintessential, buba and shokoto that goes along with it. But I wonder if cabinet members in Governor Kwevolo's cabinet are uncomfortable with this desperate validation that we see oftentimes from your principal, to always want to please the president.
Catch me by 10 a.m. for my Tinubu cap. By 10 a.m. I'm going to be rocking it. So concerning MOA that you mentioned earlier on, I just gave you the background. That facility, in the eyes of the donors and the stakeholders who contributed to it, was supposed to be the Benin Royal Museum. Along the line, how that changed into the Legacy Restoration Trust or the MOA is what needs to be unraveled. But that facility, in the eyes of the donor, was supposed to be the Benin Royal Museum that was going to house the artifacts that were being brought back. So those are part of the things that the conversations that are going to go on to see how that can be remedied. I don't know what you mean by whether the members of the executive are. I don't know what you use the word now. You said desperate validation. That's a personal opinion. In every organization, they have policies that guide their culture and their staff. I mean, the organizations you go to where the suit, you must always be on a red tie. The organizations you go to where they say, oh, you must wear this color on Monday. I mean, it's normal. It's part of every organizational system. The governor who leads this particular organization has said I want you to come to work in this particular outfit, and it's perfectly normal. Just the same way you have in banks, you have in companies. That's what the governor said, and the members of the State Executive Council have no issues at all. I mean, those of us in government still too great for what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done. Hello, are you with us? Can you still hear me?
We can hear you. You can land on your thought.
Yes. Okay, so I mean, we're very grateful for what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done. A very common statement in Edo State today is where governors see money when they see all he's doing.
Well, sir, it's not a personal. It's not a personal opinion. Evidence points to the repeated support for Mr. President from your principles, appearances, his address to the people, his commitment to delivering 2 million votes. You know, we can mention quite a number of events where he has, you know, restated that commitment. But we must anchor at this point. And thank you very much for coming on the show. We've been talking with Mr. Bugi Okwemoy, the essay on media and publicity to Edo State Governor Monday Kwevelu. Thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I wish you the very best on your, I think, first anniversary.
Yes, indeed.
You know, I told Boogie that his governor will not be able to give the president 2 million votes. And I'm not changing that because I believe it's not true. The numbers, you know, we've done the analytics, voter apathy, previous turnout of numbers, you know, so what we've seen, whether it's act of excitement, but of course it's politics, governors now making promises they know in their conscience is a lie or it's not possible. But we would excuse it on the platform of politics anyway. But as we need to wind down, let's bring you up to speed with what some of the things we're tracking as far as your thoughts are concerned. I don't know whether our producers have been able to put this. Okay, I think they are still working on it, but there's something from the Defense HQ. As far as the reaction to incidents of the Wike versus the soldier incident is concerned, we're supposed to catch up with our correspondent, reporter Ayola Kasim from Belém. She's covering COP30, but as soon as we catch up with her, we'll bring you up to speed as to what is going on. But one of the big highlights of COP30 is that nature is not for sale. If you travel around, you see how people really appreciate nature, make the most of it. And Bukola, we're talking about this museum issue, and I think that the Edo State government must walk around to really make that British, you know, Benin Royal Palace to work out, in my view, because if you travel around, you know, when we travel, you get to want to visit places. And when you visit these places, there's a heritage site. Benin City, or the Royal Palace of Benin, is supposed to be one of our heritage sites that people are coming into Nigeria. Even if you stop by Lagos, you want to say, let me stop by Benin to check out. And that is revenue because you stay in a hotel, you buy food, anything you do to spend money is helping to build the ecosystem.
And you know, I'm
economy.
wondering, you know, the terms, the T&Cs that, you know, were agreed upon and led to, you know, MOA becoming an entity of, you know, private management rather than something that would be under, you know, the control and jurisdiction of the state government. These artifacts, while they were abroad, you know, they generated revenue in no small measure to, you know, the government.
Give us part of that revenue.
Absolutely. You know, we've talked about this prior to the handover, and we talked about reparations. But what the European Union ambassador told us was trainings will be offered, you know, to
preserve
the people in the communities, you know, to manage and preserve these things. But more than a private entity, I wonder if that can be reviewed, such that, you know, the community will take control of what belongs to them. And it was also interesting to note the Oba of Benin speaking yesterday and saying that he was asked to, you know, surrender his own stake, and you know that is totally unacceptable because these are royal artifacts that, you know, were under the control of the royal family historically in Benin City. So those issues should be reviewed, and it was good to put this, to even have this conversation in the first place and understand what's happening.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's tell you what you've been saying. This is again PDP. Court stops PDP from holding national convention. These are your reactions as far as that issue is concerned. AJ Daniel, you're writing. You said PDP's internal battles has turned legal now. when politics can't solve it, the courts will. And we really doubted that the courts have been unable to solve PDP's problem. Odua is saying PDP can't even organize a party meeting without the court stepping in. Politics in Nigeria or a never-ending soap opera. Bukola, you have the next one.
You go ahead.
Okay, so from there, about the PDP, let's move on to other things you're talking about as far as the trends are concerned. 6 directors of the Federal Ministry of Defense have been abducted by suspected gunmen along the Kaba-Lokoja Highway. Well, the issue of insecurity is a nagging issue, and we've talked about this over and over again. We can disagree on approach on who can intervene and to what measure, or we can even disagree on the issue of nomenclature to use to describe the killings. But one thing we should not do is an insult to the memory of those that have been killed, is that we have huge insecurity problem on our hands. The government is doing what it can, but they're not doing enough, apparently. So let's, this is
Obiora Otu is speaking.
Yes.
Yeah. And he says something very, compelling. This is heartbreaking and deeply shameful. A clear reflection of how far Nigeria has fallen into lawlessness and insecurity. When senior civil servants can be abducted on a major highway without consequence, it tells you that no one is safe anymore. And, Obiora's mail is rather long, but that's just a summary of what he's saying.
So, Mervyn is also talking about this. Mervyn said, how did this happen? Even the security personnel are not secured. Who will then now protect the normal citizen? It's a big question. It's a big question. Let's also talk about the issue of fire destroying 44 shop stores in Zinga Market in Kano. And Bukola, this is important because it appears that towards the Yuletide, we seem to have a rise in the incidence of fire. I don't know whether it's the weather or carelessness of village people is one of them. Maximalist, that's what you call yourself. So my thoughts are with the affected shop owners. Really, look at the fire. This is just, I don't know what is left of that entire place. And the entire Single Market community in Kano, I hope they can recover quickly from this tragic loss. At about this time, this economy
no one should be experiencing such a loss. This one is from Awesome, and Awesome says, billions gone in flames, and simply because no firefighting and prevention systems are in place in that market. And that's at the heart of the matter. Speaking of which, are other shop owners in other markets in Kano State also being proactive rather than reactive at this point? We hope that there will be no more fire incidents to report. But there's more from on other matters. Yeah.
Okay, just before we wrap up, it appears that, we commended, the soldier for being very composed, disciplined, and he stood resolute despite provocation. Because if you know how their structure works, commander-in-chief down to their own commanders, nobody can give them a contrary order. It doesn't work. I knew it will not move. They've mentally created a perimeter that you can't cross, whether you're a minister or not. Whether they are there, what they are doing there is right or wrong. It's a different argument altogether, because I believe that our soldiers are more useful at battlefront than coming to defend property and all of that. But we must commend him for not being, for not acting out of order. For being disciplined, even when he was insulted by the minister, which we believe the minister should actually apologize to that gentleman and to the military authority for calling him foolish and all the uncouth statement he made against the gentleman and all of that. But I don't know whether this is a shade from the military or what exactly this is, but they posted this about 10 hours ago, 11 hours ago. You can see the military, just like the gentleman was standing with his hands crossed and held back. It's an honor to serve in the Nigerian military, unshaken, unbent, unbroken. Now, maybe that's a shade.
It's a clear message.
Maybe that's the shade to use a week. I don't know.
Yeah.
But whatever that means, we're just giving you an update. But that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and company. Sunrise Daily is up next at the top of the hour. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Bye-bye.
Of course, don't forget, we'll be back again tomorrow. I am Bukola Koka. Bye for now.